Hello, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. And it's Friday, 11 a.m. here on the East Coast of the United States, where we have our Friday morning chat scheduled, and I'm always enjoy it. So, how's everybody doing today? Let me open up the chat room and say hello to Corky Goss. And Corky, didn't Carol do a great job last night? Um, I really, I really felt that. For the first time, I was starting to understand where this whole nuclear fusion goes. But of course, she just got started, so there's a lot more to for me to latch on to before we feel like I've got it under my belt. But uh, the idea of resonance and uh, what seems to me often to be just almost a magical energy that comes through resonance has fascinated me for years. And in fact, I developed a whole theory, which as long as you're here, Corky, I'm gonna tell you what my theory was, and that was based upon the resonance of tubular bells, or tubes that are like musically tuned tubes. Okay, so if I hang a bunch of these tubes from a ceiling in a big warehouse. Okay, say I hang 1,000 of them, and they're all pretty much this. They're the same length. They're the same resonance. And then I use mechanical energy to strike one of these, like a musical tone. And the musical tone is the same resonance as all the 1,000 other tubes in the big warehouse. Isn't that going to cause all the other tubes to start resonating as well, because of the power that resonance conveys into the substance of the other 999 resonant tubes that are hanging from the ceiling? And then all that needs to be done is to that resonance, that ringing sound, audio energy that we hear. Now, if we can capture it by conducting it away from those 999 other tubes into a storage or a way to use the energy, or into a battery, have we not gotten free energy? um, that question I never got answered. I actually sent it to somebody who was a MIT physicist, and I'd never really got a straight answer, because I guess physics is just too obscure for me. But okay, let's see what Corky has to say about that. Tubular Bells, The Exorcist. Okay. All right. Patacorn, you sent me a video on cymatics. That's those patterns that form on a sand table, or a water dish that responds to certain frequencies. And I have seen a lot of those videos. They're fascinating, but it's not enough for me to just see those videos. I need somebody like Carol to talk me through them and say, here's why these patterns occur. And it clearly is related to the same idea of resonance that we talk about in music. But getting down to the atomic level of it, are electrons getting transferred from one place to another? Or is it simply just the resonance causes within each tube? Well, sympathetic. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just the word that I use is a sympathetic vibration. But to me, it really does seem to be that's where free energy could be. I don't know what it has to do with the concept of nuclear fission. And that's where we left off last night. I don't think we got past the kindergarten stage for me to try to understand how that is related to the concept of nuclear fission and how to scale that up so that you could really benefit from it without having to worry about carbon. Excuse me. Well, welcome everyone, wherever you're watching. We are broadcasting on Facebook, on McDuff Lives 1 and McDuff Lives 3, as well as a kind of a simulcast on Twitter, which is not an interactive broadcast, but you can just sit and watch it if you want on Twitter. And, I now have the upgraded StreamYard plan, so I can add even four more destinations. And I'm thinking about which ones. A lot of people have recommended Rumble to me. I also am really liking Rockfin in terms of all the great writers and journalists that are over at Rockfin. That's where Garland Nixon has landed. And by the way, Garland Nixon, after attracting a huge audience with his own programs on YouTube and Twitter, and now he's landed at Rockfin. Well, he has been banned from Twitter and he has been banned from Facebook. So, I mean, that's very frustrating because he's an extremely important voice. He's somebody that can talk to the Democrats as an insider, but with the knowledge that those of us are so anxious to share. Well, he can share it. He can talk to them, but like they wouldn't listen to me, but they'll listen to Garland, and plus, of course, Garland's a superb presenter, so there's that too. Um, a lifetime of experience. So I just I'm sad to see that Elon Musk is not gonna let Garland Nixon have his say. That's really sad. And of course, Facebook as well. But I'm glad to have started my Facebook channel because it's amazing how quickly it grows. I'm so glad that everybody that has watched it will, share it with your friends, share it with people that are concerned about what's going on with this country, and not willing to just accept the party line of whichever party, not willing to, you know, trust authority. You know, and I don't know about you, but I used to have a button that said "Question Authority." A little button to put on your shirt, your jacket, and I wore it too because you have to question authority. You have to be skeptical. If you're not skeptical, you know, you're not living. You got to be skeptical. Okay, Patacorn, you're going to ask Musk to have Garland back. That's a good. I mean, it seems to work for some people. I don't know if Elon Musk knows who Late Driver is. That's me on Twitter, Late Driver. All right, let's see what Corky says. Clarity about this is key. I avoid flaky, but I am not an expert. Many are and study this in great detail. Not free energy, natural fission/fusion already here. Okay, well, that's intriguing. Steffi Youth from UK. Hi, Steffi. You love Rumble more than YouTube. Well, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube. I hate them because they cost me thousands of dollars when they took down my big channel and demonetized, all of my work, 3 years ago. Um, they will not let me monetize even if I start a new channel. So no, I can't stand them. But at the same time, they have an incredible reach. Like I say, my first year, I built up 12,000 subscribers on that channel. And, but I was unwilling to, I didn't really realize that they would do that. I mean, I only had maybe three strikes altogether, but because they were all, well, it was all COVID and it was all about trying to support George Webb's work. I was very committed to uh, when he got his channel struck down. That's when I said, "Well, I'm going to start a channel because I think George needs to be heard." Well, isn't that the truth, Corky? Everyone I like gets bullied. Not going to work. Yeah, I've been experiencing, the effects of bullying on someone myself, and I've learned a lot about it. I've learned a lot about how this bullying thing affects people. And one of the common sense notions that you have to bear in mind is that the older you get, the more susceptible you are to bullying. Because as you get older, you've accumulated various weaknesses in your organs or your vessels or you're aged. And when you are bullied, you are put under stress, and that affects your cardiovascular system. And if it's a sudden change or one that perhaps you just didn't anticipate, and it hits you hits you cold, and you can have one of those stress reactions where your blood vessels start to uh, change their size, and the little particles in there can get blocked up, and you can have a stroke or a heart attack. And it's real. And as we get more and more of this stuff going on, we have to remember to take care of people, as we get older. And everybody knows that. You don't expose your grandmother to some shocking scene. You don't do it. And yet this society is has been taken over by psychopaths who don't even think of that. And these psychopaths are the type that get into power. It's horrible. Steffi, where did they go? Why haven't they come looking for you? I'm sure that they have come looking for me, but it's hard. It's really one of the things that I think they accompany with when they strike your channel is that they kind of shadow ban you. So it's hard for people to find you. But thank you for the compliment. I'm very happy that you're following me now. And yeah, let's build the team back up. As I've been working with Marcia and with Jumping Mouse to get ready to launch McDuffLives.com, we will be integrating our shows right there on the website. So you won't have to go to YouTube anymore. You and I won't have to be worried about getting strikes anymore because I will be broadcasting directly to my own website. And that I think is going to change everything because I'm going to be able to interview anybody I want to. I'm not going to have to announce that we're moving from, McDuff Lives 1 to McDuff Lives 3. because we're always going to be at our home base at McDuffLives.com. And StreamingOspreys.com is my website, and it has been for the past 3 years, managed by Jumping Mouse, who is AKA Catherine, and a very, very good friend and volunteer who does our weekly meme that you see on Twitter every week, and individual little show announcements, such as the one for last night that she created. She's very creative and very, very dedicated to our mission here at McDuff Lives. And now that my wife is retiring as of the end of the year, we are hoping that she will have some time to give us a hand here as well, and I think she will. Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome, and it may happen next week. It may be another week or two, but as soon as we've done all our beta testing and got everything hooked up, we will launch, and I think it's going to be uh, a big change. Yeah, they have. They've been taken over by psychopaths, and it's amazing, but you do run into them in your own life. I've run into them. I used to run into them, but not recognize that they really are psychopaths. But now I understand that these people are not fully human. There's something missing, and why? But well, I guess it's because of the sick direction that our children's education has been taken in, and our society, and pulling the parents away from the children and not teaching them how to be socialized, how to interact with others, how to respect people's rights and privacy and feelings, and how to not to not to shame somebody uh, just to entertain yourself. You got to be cool, and we all have to have certain moral guides that we go by, or we'll never make it. We'll never make it as a country or civilization, and they know that because they don't want us to be a sovereign, powerful nation. They want us to be helpless, computer-driven serfs that do what we're told. And when they say, "Roll up your sleeve, pull down your pants," we roll up the sleeve, we pull down the pants, we bend over, and they say, "Jab me, baby, jab me." Yeah, because we want to be compliant, and we don't know diddly squat about our history. We don't know how our government works. We don't know how the government was subverted. We haven't studied anything about war. We are completely captivated by our media, and our idea of a good time is to sit around, drink beer, and watch a football game. And I have nothing against that except for that it takes up all the space of your life where you could be actually learning something to help us out of this mess. And so anyway, in my own case, I was a big Washington Redskins fan back in my college days. It was, one of the things that you did in your dorm. And then after college, I stayed with the Redskins for a while. And he actually had a pretty good case one time. I was representing a young man who had gone to, um, and Redskins fans will remember this, the year that they had a strike, and it was Mark Mosley. It was the year before the strike. Mark Mosley was the field goal kicker, and this incredible ending. The Redskins won, I think, the Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl. Anyway, the crowd comes rushing down onto the field, and my client was sitting in one of the front row seats. And for some reason, and who knows why, a fight broke out. and a whole legion of cops came running out of the dugout, with their billy clubs and everything, and they just started beating everybody up, and my client ended up face down on the ground, getting whacked on the back of his head by a billy club. And he's okay. He was drunk, okay, but he hadn't done anything wrong. So we ended up suing the District of Columbia over that, and he did all right. That was years and years ago. But what did it for me was when Lawrence Taylor, the New York Giants giant, an admitted cocaine addict at the time, just took a vicious shot at Joe Theismann, the Washington quarterback's leg, and broke it in such a way that Joe Theismann never could run like he did. He was a fantastic uh, quarterback that had a running game, but not after that. And it just messed up his career. Uh, that type of an intentional, what I think was intentional, and most people that look at it would say, "Wow, that was intentional." Uh, you know, that's the darkest thing you can do to sports is to put in that type of vicious thing just to win, just to defeat the other side. You're going to permanently injure another player for the rest of his life. It's not a game. It's a war. It's a mafia type war with billy clubs and things. I mean, it's not billy clubs, but the power of a 350-pound lineman striking you. Just there's ways of where the vulnerable spots are on an ankle or a knee or a leg, and they study it. And that's one of the things that I got because I think that's what my father experienced at Harvard, and that's why he would not play in his fourth year. So he was one of their starting. He was a fullback and a tackle. But some incident happened that I don't know the details of, but I think that it was one of those where they'd say, you go out and hit this guy so and so, take him out of the game, and my dad wouldn't do it. I'm supposing that's what happened. Not sure, but when you have these, psychopaths that are getting in positions of coaching young boys football teams, you know, it's a shame. It's a damn shame. Yeah, hey Taz, that's my I agree with that completely. You said it very well. And I've seen a lot of kind of depressing posts lately where somebody will say, "Well, most people just don't care." Well, it's not because they don't care, it's that they've given up. They used to care. Everybody should care, for goodness sakes. You grow up, in a society and you learn that you got the right to vote, you've got this Bill of Rights, you got Constitution. The cops are on your side. You know, we've got this great institutions and military, and we're the greatest country in the world. So why shouldn't I trust everything and just relax and sail through my life? Yeah, I'll vote. Of course, I'll vote, and then I'm done. I'm just gonna get back to my enjoyment of mindless entertainment. Yeah, it's not really enjoyment; it's distraction. You're distracting yourself from what you really should be thinking about. My opinion. Hermeneutical circle is difficult to form. Hi, Kim. Judicial weaponization and legislating from the bench. Well, two different things related. judicial weaponization has always been going on. You know, the people that get to appoint the judges would pick somebody that they thought they could rely on. You know, so the more politically agitated your society is, the more likely it is that you're going to get judges that agree with the reigning political class of of the day. You know, if all of the if your government officials believe in the death penalty, they're not going to appoint a judge that doesn't believe in the death penalty. It's, it's obvious. So, but right now I think it's gotten worse and worse. And the idea to me is to really pull us apart to the extent that, we've got our judges and you got your judges. Our red state, blue state thing is going on steroids. We're going to get it right down to the local level. And, I'm not going to believe in your system and you're not going to believe in my system, and then it's going to be, pitchforks and torches. No, it's going to be worse than that. It's going to be bad. These ideas of political vetting of judges. I mean, look what they do to vet the Supreme Court justices nowadays. No, I have a very, very strong opinion I've held all of my life, and that is that the law is a separate entity from politics. And if you want to be a judge, you have to know the law. Okay. So when politicians are going to grill somebody about, how would you decide, this case or that case, they're trying to show out a political bias that is going to affect the election. They want somebody to say, well, something that's going to help that particular politician that's asking the question. And so you can grandstand and look. Isn't it true that you favored abortion in the case of Smith versus Jones in 1997? Cross-examine them. But what's not being done is examining how well they know the law. Do you know basic contract law? Do you know basic civil rights law? I'm not asking you what you would do in the future. I'm asking you, do you know what the law is today, right now, this instant? What is the law? Because you have to know the law in order to interpret the law. But that's the step that politics cuts out. They don't want the law to have any independent respect. But that was the whole point of, Lincoln when he said, do you want a government of laws or a government of men? Do you want to have something you can rely on, like the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the laws of the land? Or do you just want to do whatever the man in charge says? Well, they're pulling us apart. They want us to have different ideas of what the law is. But the law, in my view, is the way that it exists as of now. If certain contracts are illegal as of today, then I should know that, you know? If a old law against something has been overruled, then I should know that. And I shouldn't have to depend upon, legions of law clerks to write my opinions for me. I should be one of the greatest lawyers in the country that knows the law inside and out, upside and down, like the back of his hand, and doesn't need a staff of, aspiring judges, aspiring prosecutors, and people that have a career that they want to climb. Um, you, know, you should, in other words, look to, can you explain why Justice Taney said that Dred Scott had to go back to his slave masters? Can you now explain why the result would be different today? Why, what was the effect of the 13th Amendment? What's the effect of the 14th, 15th? Have we overcome Jim Crow? Is there complete equanimity among all of our different, racial heritage and ethnic heritage and religious and other, divisive characteristics? Have we overcome all that? Where are we at right now in terms of our, march towards the promised land? Are we in sight of it like Martin Luther King was? Are we still trudging up the hill? Or are we falling backwards into division, which will ultimately tear us apart? The law is the answer. You have to know what the law is today. And if you don't, you're just going to be playing politics. Great point, Kim. Thank you. Legislating from the bench is another, side of it. It's just, is the judge going to make new law that the legislature didn't make, and then is that going to be overturned on appeal because it is legislating from the bench, or is it a fair interpretation of existing law to the facts of the case? Always an issue, but I think the weaponization is the one that I really seize upon, because that's the one that's going to tear us down. Hello, Brightmore. How are you? I actually oppose the real IDs, which are another way of grooming the sheep for Big Brother's constricting surveillance and servitude. Yeah, yeah, I had to get a real ID driver's license this time, and I mean, what the heck, If you drive in a car, they need to know who's driving. I don't have any problem with that. Um, and I think, going out on the public roads is you're submitting yourself to a certain amount of surveillance. I just wish that the surveillance was more effective in preventing accidents and preventing, terrible, terrible injuries. I spent, a good 30 years as a tort lawyer doing most of what was happening. Most of the injuries do come from car accidents in my practice, and they're avoidable. We should have much better technology out there on the roads for our traffic lights, you know, uh, safer roadways, and the idea of all of these technological gadgets that are in a car now, and phones and everything. These things are bad, and I deplore the idea of allowing these accidents to continue at the present rate. It's terrible. So, I don't mind giving my information if I'm going to be getting a license to drive a car on a public road. I think it's fair. But I don't want that tied to my life. That's for my car driving. Okay, fine. Now, if I need another license for something else, then I'll do that separate. But that's obviously not what they want. What they want is, a promise software solution where they can always find you, no matter in what context you are operating. They know who it is, they know where you are, what you're doing, what you had for lunch, and what your plans are for the rest of the week. And this is just it's worse than East Germany. I don't know if you remember, but I remember when we were told that in East Germany every citizen had a watcher, and they Communist Party of Germany would watch every single person. They probably had teams of watchers. So you couldn't go anywhere without having somebody stalking you. Well, that's what's going on now. They're stalking us online. How many people are stalking me? How many people are trying to keep tabs on where I am? You, everybody. We are descending into the 1984 totalitarian state. So no, I mean, real IDs are okay for a purpose, but not to change a person into a computerized digital information file. Oh, hello. I'm glad to have a nurse with us, a degree in nursing, then got out at ASAP. Okay, so you got out. That's a sad thing. It's so sad. It's like my grandfather. My grandfather was a teacher and a high school principal in Hartford, Connecticut. And, you know, he would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I guess I was 10 or 12 or so. And one of the things he'd say was, don't be a teacher. They don't let you teach. They won't let you do what you need to do to be a good teacher. And he was very firm about it. Don't do it. So I didn't. But and I think a lot of professions have got that unfortunate reality of you can't do it the way you think it should be done because it's all being coordinated through some you know huge system, and you only have slightest bit of flexibility, and it'll make you crazy. Well, Corky, this is what I need to talk to you more about. The laws of energy being suppressed. Energy got weaponized. Yeah, that's it. It's like radio or television. It's all weaponized. The control over the airwaves by the government is criminal. It's horrible. Those airwaves belong to us. It's part of our national sovereignty. But, Congress decided, well, can't trust the people with that. You got to give it to just a few insiders. And then it all comes into the hands of the spooks and the corporate insiders that we talk about so much here on the channel. People do not understand how badly the news is corrupted. They don't understand how badly they're being mistreated by this horrible, horrible system. So yeah, let's free up some energy, some free energy, or even inexpensive energy. That's what happened to Muammar Gaddafi, right? He gave the people free energy, and he stopped playing ball with them. And so what happens to him? Well, the old sword up the rectum, and Hillary Clinton cackling about it. She thought it was absolutely hilarious. 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 How about that for a word? Yep, that's what they do. So, let's all be careful as we proceed forward in unleashing the real energy sources. And I think Carol's right. I think you're right, Corky. But it's going to be a tough slog to try to get it get it into uh, this noggin. I've but I'm going to try. Hello, Don. Without their messiah, the flu bioagent hurling drug like crapola, the media would not say that is how it is done. Quoting Caesar and cackling. That's right. Mhm. Yeah. Veni vidi morti. I came, I saw, he died. And she cackled about it. And you can see it over and over again on the inner tube, on YouTube. Yeah. One thing good, it's good for you. Good YouTube, they preserve certain things that they just can't quash all the copies. Once it gets viral to a certain point, then, so that you can see her cackling. Maybe they want you to see it. They want you to know that she's above the law. Hey, Deborah, how you doing? Yeah. Well, be nice to get together again sometime. I really appreciated the times that folks came to Mystery Island here for charrettes, and it's been a while since we did anything. So maybe this spring we'll try to do it again. I would love to see you and everyone that participated in the last ones, as well as anyone else that's interested in coming here for a few days of fellowship and mutual understanding, sharing research, and creative ideas. Alrighty. See, we had a troll show up. Concerns about quantum graphene dots in mRNA jabs and other nano devices. Me right now, no, I'm not. I'm not all that concerned about that. I am more concerned about the the information that I'm getting from uh, Mark Kulak at Housatonic Live, from Nick of Twitter, from Jake Cooey on GigaOhm Biological, and he's been interviewing some more interesting people, including the one that I yesterday I started watching, and I couldn't stop. It was like a 90-minute interview between Jay Cooey, the biologist, and Dr. Joseph Lee, a surgeon in Los Angeles, and it was really just riveting. And so, what concerns me mostly is to try to dig into the facts of this so-called pandemic, unquote, and to unfold exactly what really happened. And as far as the future is concerned, I just hope that people understand, you know, the risks. They have to be informed consent. And if they won't give informed consent, then and people do it anyway, then I can't do anything about that. It's terrible. They do it to people that don't mentally can't consent, but they do it anyway. Juveniles, senile people, mentally challenged people. They can't consent. And yet, and then this incredibly fascist woman who's the prime minister of New Zealand, this Jacinda Ardern, and what they did, to take that baby away from the mother and father because the mother and father were worried about using a blood bank that might have some of this stuff in it, the same, what you're talking about, probably more the mRNA jabs and whatever the mystery stuff is in it. Well, they were worried about it. They wanted to, wait and get some natural blood somewhere. Well, they eventually did, so it was resolved. But they, they were there with the Child Protective Services and the cops wearing their body armor, taking that baby out of the arms of its parents. Why? Just to preserve their illusion that they know what they're doing? They don't know what they're doing. They're psychopaths. They're doing what they're told. They're zombie brains. Yeah, following orders to that extent that they would take that little newborn baby. And if you look at this woman, this Hearn woman, and people have published pictures of her, before and after. She looks like she's strung out on something. Just looks that way. I'm not saying she is. Just my opinion. This is just me. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But take a look at her. Yeah, yeah. Civil war, biolabs to foment a civil war. Well, they've got so many gimmicks going on now to foment a civil war. Please, if you haven't seen it, watch my show. It was Minefields, I think 192 or so. The caption of it is a hung and Pransom Yintz, and it's about the coincidence, so-called, of the opening ceremony of the 2012 Olympic Games in London, the presence of that certain hung and Pransom Yintz that was married to um, the queen of the realm, and you know these images that look so much like the images in the coronavirus cartoon that was published in the Asterix series in 2017, where you've got to see it to believe it. That this person in 2012, that in the 2012 opening ceremony, uh, there's this whole drama played out where this virus-like characters, these little dark-clad viruses, run around and infect all the children, and all the children are end up in, and they have 1,000 hospital beds out in this huge arena on the stage, and the kids are in there, and the nurses, and then we have the dancing nurses and the dancing doctors in 2012, 10 years ago. But then a big hospital bed comes rolling in, and out of that rises the figure of this guy that's clad in this red outfit with gold uh, features on it, and he has a big gold helmet on his head, and he has a very pig-like snout that he's looking out with these big old eyes, and he rises up and he cackles like a chicken or something and starts going like And somehow this is supposed to be the hero that comes and saves everybody, the sick children. He saves them. And so then 5 years later, they publish this Asterix comics, and it's all about this guy named Coronavirus. And his name is Coronavirus. Why would they name a comic strip hero Coronavirus? And then why would they put the same gold helmet on him, the same red uniform, the same gold trim? And then they announced that he's going to race across Italy. Literally, that's what they said in 2017, that coronavirus is going to race across Italy in this comic book called Asterix. So watch my show and you'll just be amazed. Because not on top of that, the guy looks like Boris Johnson. And so when you see Boris Johnson with his inexplicably crazy hair that's yellow and it's out on the side, well, that looks a lot like that golden helmet that the coronavirus chariot guy is wearing, and the same golden helmet that the big 2012 Olympics character is wearing when he rises up out of his hospital bed and looks around. And Boris Johnson's father was the author of a book about that was called the Marburg virus and was republished under the name The Virus or Virus. And he's allied with the hung and pransome Yints. And I'm going to keep calling him that because YouTube will strike me if I say who I'm talking about. But now, we've got a hung and pransome Ying, or whatever you want to call him, and he's as bad as the first one. So where does all this stuff come from? Well, I don't think you can ignore, the connections that I put forth in that video. So you can see that. I think it's on McDuff Lives 2, right before I got a strike on that channel. So today we're broadcasting on McDuff Lives 1 and McDuff Lives 3 and Facebook. All right, David, blonde hair helmets are controversial. Yeah. Boris was mayor of London at the time. Yeah, it's far beyond coincidence. Far beyond coincidence. This is something that they've had on the shelf. And they kept saying, well, if you don't do what we say, we're gonna do this. We're gonna play the coronavirus card. And so they didn't get what they wanted, and the next thing you know, what's racing across Italy? Coronavirus. See? You should have done what we told you. Interesting point, Deborah. The UK did not attend the NATO games in Wuhan, and of course that's been a very important subject that has been ignored by the media, except by George Webb, who alerted the world to it, and bravo to him for doing that. Well, we should all take some credit for that. I mean, the Benassis and all of that stuff. A lot of people did a lot of research to put that story together, and but it still hasn't been told. The people don't know it. So the Wuhan Games story, if you don't know that, check it out. Deborah's absolutely right. It's very suspicious that the UK didn't show up. All right, Corky, I'm going to let you have the last word today. Chess pieces and placeholders are not automatically leaders. Amen to that. Bucking this status quo takes courage. LENR, that's low energy nuclear reactor. I got it right. Does that, does just that bigly. Well, I'm going to accept that as a message of hope that things are going to get better, and we're going to get you back on the show, Corky, as soon as we can to take it further into my brain and understanding uh, the power of nuclear fission and low energy, I mean, nuclear fusion and low energy nuclear reactions, and the amazing power of resonance in our world. All right, folks, have a great weekend. It's been a long and very interesting week for me, and I think next week's going to be even more interesting. So stick with us here at McDuff Lives, and be sure and check out our podcasts at McDuff Lives Podcast, which you can find on Spotify, Google. There's a dozen podcast services, or just Google it yourself, and it will pop up under McDuff Lives podcast. My wife Marcia is the producer and editor of the audio, and it's just been doing a great job. I'm looking forward to her next production.